This is the story of the year 1914, when an 8-year-old boy was playing in a village in Japan. Then he saw a machine running on 4 wheels. This was Ford's Model T, which surprised the boy. This was the day when the 8-year-old boy was first attached to cars and mechanical parts. His name was Soichiro Honda, and who knew that in the future, we will see its name on every small and big car. Welcome to TIT TV. In 1906, a small village near Mount Fuji in Japan was born to 4 Honda. Along with being their father, Lohar, he also worked as a cycle repairman in part-time. Honda's 5 siblings had already died of various diseases, so his parents had a lot of expectations from their child. But he had no interest in studying. However, Honda was more interested in repairing the cycle with his father. When he was 16 years old, he saw an ad for a job in the newspaper. 8 Shocky. NAMI technicians were needed at this automobile service station in Tokyo. Honda wrote a letter to the company for the job, and it was fortunate that a positive reply came from there. This was the time when Honda left his home and school and went to Tokyo to earn money. Honda's dream broke when he reached 8 Shokai in Tokyo. The owner of the company started cleaning Honda and even put him on babysitting. What would Honda have done? On the one hand, he left his home and parents, and on the other hand, he was taking useless work from them. He was ashamed to go back to his village because he was not able to face his parents. This was the reason why he was forced to do odd jobs there for the next few months. After a few months, the owner of the art shop also started taking the work of the workshop from Honda. Honda was very interested in this work from the beginning, so he could understand things easily. In a few months, he had learned a lot about all kinds of cars and their parts. During this time, Art Shokai also made 2 sports cars, in which the first car was Art Daimler and the second was Curtis. These 2 cars were made using used engines, which also got the first position in the Japanese Motor Car Championship, 1924. Honda was still a good mechanic, but in this race, he was sitting as an engineer with the driver. This was the event after which Soichiro Honda made motorsports his religion. For the next few years, he continued to work in the art industry and continued to improve his experience. In 1928, at the age of 22, his owner decided to open another branch. This branch was to be in Hamamatsu City, which the owner gave the responsibility to Honda to run it. Honda started this new branch of Art Shokai with 1 worker and reached 30 workers in just 2 years. He had now become a brilliant mechanic and racing driver. Taking advantage of his skill, he designed a sport car for his owner. This car could run at a speed of 120 km, which broke all the old records. This record remained the highest record of Japan for the next 20 years. The importance of Honda had increased even more in the heart of the owner of the car. He wanted to open his own workshop, but maybe fate did not accept it. During the 1936 racing, Honda had an unfortunate accident. In this accident, his life was saved, but his left arm was fractured. His shoulder was dislocated, and he had many wounds on his face. He seemed to be ending his life here. Neither could he do the work of a mechanic, nor could he participate in racing. After many months, when he recovered again, he requested the owner of the art shop that he could no longer do the work of repairing. In fact, he presented an idea that why not start a separate company to make spare parts. 8 stakeholders immediately rejected Honda's idea. They were already making profits, and no one wanted to take a new risk. On this, Honda decided that it would open a parts manufacturing company alone. In 1936, at the age of 30, he joined his friend and opened the Tokai Seiki Heavy Industry and made his friend Soichiro Kato its president. He had opened the company, but Honda had no investment to run it. He worked for 8 years a day, while at night he tried to make his own engine piston for his new company. For the next few months, he kept on this routine, but he could not get any success. On the contrary, he had become weak by constantly shifting. After a while, a failure had stopped his way. Then he took admission in a university to gain skills in metallurgy. After 3 years of continuous hard work in 1939, he finally succeeded in making a piston. Now he quit his job and started making pistons full-time. But he didn't know that there are still many faults in his made pistons. When he offered his pistons to the Toyota company, Toyota rejected 47 out of 50 designs. This news fell on Honda because he had no way to return. He started traveling all over Japan to understand the requirements of different companies. He went to different factories, met car manufacturers, and spent the next few years understanding the market. And after that, Honda made a piston again. This time, this piston had passed the quality control of all companies. He started getting orders and once again showed Honda his dreams coming true. In order to fulfill the orders, his company hired 2,000 workers, who knew that Honda's happiness was only a few months of guests. In 1941, Japan jumped into World War I, and the ministry took many Japanese companies under its control, including a company called Soichiro Honda. After downgrading Honda, he was made the senior managing director of the company. And things got even worse when the company's workers were put in military service. The next 3 years went by in a very difficult state. But in 1944, an incident happened that completely ruined Honda's hopes. During the air raid, a missile hit directly on Honda's factory. The situation of the whole country was getting worse. Japan seemed to be losing the war. Then in 1945, 2 nuclear attacks happened which broke Japan's back. After this incident, Japan surrendered in front of the Americans. The war was over now, but Honda had lost everything. He sold his remaining assets to Toyota for 450,000 yen and once again became jobless. This was not only the case with Honda, but the whole of Japan was going through a very bad crisis. The economy was melting. Food, water was very poor, and the high prices had broken everyone's back. It was extremely difficult to get public transport because there was no patrol in Japan. Meanwhile, Honda got a small Japanese Imperial Army engine from which they used to run wireless radio. He got an idea from his habit. He thought, why not put this engine in a cycle and solve the problem of his transport? This will make the transport easy and cheap. Because at that time, people were already very worried about the price. So when they saw this engine on a cycle, everyone liked this idea very much. A few used engines were found by Honda, but people's demand was so high that now Honda has designed its own new engine. This was the first time in history that a Honda logo was seen on a machine. Honda didn't have enough money to make these cycles at mass level, so he wrote an open letter to 18,000 shopkeepers. People trusted Honda so much that 3,000 shopkeepers gave him a positive reply and gave the money in advance. In the next 3 years, Honda made such a motorcycle that was in line with the market requirements. It was launched in the name of Super Cub, which made the market go wild as soon as it came. This model was so successful that in 1958, it left behind America's own Triumph and Harley-Davidson's sales. Because Honda was very fond of racing. That's why he decided to make a sports bike. He would go to different bike races and note down the special features of winning bikes. At that time, such sports competitions were used as a marketing tool for manufacturing companies. In a few years, Honda's first sports bike was launched, which won the first position in the 1962 International Racing Competition. This race made Honda's name famous all over the world. In the 1960s, Honda had become the world's largest motorcycle manufacturing company. And by 1968, they had sold 1 crore units. After 62 years of his life, finally Soichiro Honda had succeeded. But the dream he had since childhood had not been fulfilled yet. Honda now wanted to go to car manufacturing. Many people also stopped him from doing this, but he did not listen to anyone. At that time, companies like Toyota and Nissan were already building their business in Japan. It was very difficult to make a new place in the market. Honda launched its first pickup truck, 360, which failed. After that, it launched the sports car 500, which could only sell 1,300 units. after many years of hard work and many different designs were rejected. Honda Civic was finally launched in 1972. This is the car whose new models are still famous all over the world. In the 1980s, Honda Motors was Japan's third largest manufacturing company, and in just 10 years, it became the third largest in the world. Today, Honda's name is seen on cars, motorcycles, boat engines, plane engines, and dozens of power tools. The next year, after the launch of the Honda Civic, Soichiro Honda retired from the company in 1973. And on 5th August 1991, this journey of his life ended forever. Hey, you've arrived at the end of the video, and thank you so much for watching. But don't click off just yet. I do want to take the time to say thank you very much for watching to the end. These things take quite a few sleepless nights to research, script, film, and edit, so you can't imagine how much I really do appreciate your support. If you genuinely enjoyed this video, then don't be shy. Hit the like button. And if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. And comment down below and let me know why. My goal with this channel has been to create entertaining documentary-style videos on business, finance, and life in general. And if that sounds like something you'd be interested in and you'd want to tune in for more, hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell. Make sure all your notifications are turned on. But with all of that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. As per usual, my friend's hand-to-head salute from TIT TV.